All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about 9.3 now. We're in example 1 here. We're going to be talking about two-way tables. That's most what this chapter and section in this chapter is about. I'm going to stumble over my words apparently. So a two-way table is the idea that we're comparing two things. We got to be able to look at the margins, and that's really the marginal frequency. To give you an example here of what a marginal frequency is, anything of the sum of the columns or rows is a marginal frequency. So if we add the columns, we get 220. If we add the rows, we also get 220. What I mean by that, and we'll find the columns here in a minute, but it's always going to be the sum of that. The marginal frequency is the sum of the rows and the columns, not together. You have to do each one separate, and you'll find out that it comes to the same. So the sum of the rows here is 106 plus 114, being 220. The sum of the columns is going to be a little bit different, but the same sum. Okay, so we have 42 plus 77, that's 119. That number we hadn't seen yet. That's because right now we know there are 106 juniors, because it tells us up in the problem, that are looking at going to a concert. Question doesn't state that, it comes from another question, but I'm just telling you that's what it was. These are juniors and seniors that were asked and responded to the question of, are you planning on attending a concert? So 106 juniors responded, and 42 of them said, yes, we plan on attending. So that means the amount not attending still has to be found, and that's going to be 106 minus 42, because the problem's not telling us that. We just got to be able to know that. Well, 106 minus 42, 100 minus 40 is 60, move up to the 6, so 66 minus 2 is 64. And then we can do the same thing here, 114 to 77, count up to 80 is 3 plus 20 is 23 plus 14 is 37. So 37 students are planning on not attending that are seniors. Now, when we add 64 and 37 together, we are going to get 101. And if you take 101 plus 119, you also end up with 220. So the marginal frequency is 220. Now, we've been able to find the marginal frequency. Now we need to interpret it. Well, the marginal frequency when we're interpreting, we need to include what created the sum of the 220. What we're looking at is there are less juniors that responded than seniors, but there are there are more seniors planning on attending than juniors planning on attending. I can't think of really much else we need to be able to do, because as far as not attending, that just means that you have the opposite. You have more juniors planning on not attending than attending. And all of these can be read in a comparison to not only the margins, but to the columns and rows themselves. So the marginal frequency just helps us understand, okay, what's the total amount of juniors who were asked? What's the total amount of people attending? And compare the idea of just the total amount of two categories. In this case, juniors and seniors, and attending and not attending. Marginal frequency tells us how many people were asked in total of each group and grand total, and how many are attending or not attending, and make sure that it also adds up to the same. And as far as interpreting, we're just looking at the margins to be able to sit there and say, well, less juniors responded than seniors, and more people are attending than not attending. And then if we look within the table, we can actually see that there's more seniors planning on attending than juniors.